We are back. It's me, the KYLE. That sucked. Anyway, we're back at the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast, episode 46. We've had a few weeks off for the summer, but we're back. Do you smell that? Yeah, it's almost season 2 of the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. And you know what time that is? That's NFL kickoff. Chiefs, Lions, second week of December, first week of December, whatever it is. That begins year 2, season 2 of the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. But for now, due to the fact that we have some preseason NFL to kick us off, and oh my God, Saturday mornings will be back to normal when the EPL and eventually Bundesliga, Italian, Serie A kick in. And we got soccer action to cover us in the morning. And then we get to the fall, we got NBA and hockey. But, you know, if you've been to the Overrated Experience before, you know we talk about sports betting. We talk about the latest sports news. We're going to try to keep it to the main sports. I'm not going to lie, though. We'll touch base on other sports like UFC and golf if it seems to have an interest out there. But it's football season. If you didn't notice, the Hall of Fame game kicked off last Thursday. And we had the New York Jets, Jets, New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers didn't play, taking on the Cleveland Browns. It was, it's the traditional kickoff, but you know what? I thought better time than now to kick off, rolling into the new season, to talk about some preseason action. Now, obviously, this sports betting podcast is for responsible gameplay. Only bet if you have it, and you can lose it because it probably will happen. Now, the pros out there have probably looked at these boards on the preseason for a lengthy period of time, have some good takes on it. I'm going to look at it from a square perspective, look at it from an outside, working guy just like you, and giving my thoughts. So we'll kick it off, talk about the NFL, talk about some big hockey news, and then dive into some EPL action to give you a few picks. And we'll get out of here and work on leading up to the NFL season. So a lot of things going on in the world of sports, but we'll stick with, start off with the NHL. Big trade that took place between the Pittsburgh Penguins, actually a 3-team trade. Pittsburgh Penguins, Montreal Canadiens, and the San Jose Sharks. The reigning Norris Trophy defenseman, Erik Karlsson, and his long-awaited move out of San Jose, which is rebuilding, has happened, and he's on the move to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the exchange here is the following. The exchange is Pittsburgh acquires Erik Karlsson, forward Rem Pitlick, forward Dylan Heimlich, and San Jose's 2026 third rounder. San Jose, which got rid of the contract but did retain $1.5 million of the $11.5 million contract that Karlsson has, acquires Pittsburgh's 2024 first round pick. Now that is top 10 protected. So if it, for whatever miraculous reason, the Penguins finish in the top 10, that pick will push into 2025. Forward Michael Granlund, defenseman Jan Ruda, and forward Mike Hoffman. And the Montreal Canadiens brought into this trade to make it work, acquire Pittsburgh's 2025 second rounder, defenseman Jeff Petrie, who returns to Montreal after being traded to Pittsburgh, goaltender Casey DeSmith, and forward Nathan DeGuerre. So, trying to break this down, the big points of this big points of this deal are the NHL, since the salary cap inception, has had to put these complex deals together to make the numbers work. Teams uploading, downloading, retaining salary. Part of the salary cap strategy is part of the trade bait, right? Those teams that have room probably get that phone call and are asked to join and see what they can pick up some salary. Now, the Pittsburgh Penguins obviously got the big player in this deal, Erik Karlsson, Norris Trophy winner, 3-time Norris Trophy winner. And there's a lot of thought in here that Pittsburgh obviously is going on a run. They are on the back nine. And when I say back nine, I mean that this franchise is taking its last chance with Sidney Crosby, Malkin and Letang, all those guys that they're going to stick around and go at it one more time, maybe 2 more times. But this is it. You got to imagine that the Pittsburgh Penguins, if they don't have success success or no success, there's about 2 more years left in the gas tank here, that they're going to go full-on rebuild, and it will probably be some painful years in Pittsburgh because they've exercised all their draft picks pretty much in the next couple of years. So we'll see what happens there. But when you look at the Pittsburgh lineup, it's very top-heavy. All their salary cap is around a few players. And Geno Malkin, Crosby, Jeff Carter, Letang, those guys are out there. Now, I've heard some feedback, listened to Spit and Chicklets, etc., and they've got some great takes on the trade. One of them is the Pittsburgh Penguins didn't address a lot of the needs they had, and if you put them up against the Vegas Golden Knights or maybe even the Florida Panthers in a playoff round, that they probably get run over because they don't have the grit, maybe the playoff style teams that you've seen make the final this year. I beg to differ, and here's my take on this. When you have a team with Sidney Crosby and you have a team with Geno Malkin, I think you do have to, especially if you eat up most of your cap in the top end, instead of trying to spread out and try to cover every hole that you have in the team to be solid all around, I don't think there's not anything wrong with the strategy of kind of trying to maximize your strength, meaning that the Penguins' strength is obviously offensive. They should have a deadly power play. And I think if you take already a good offensive threat and just take it up a few levels by having an elite defenseman, 100-point defenseman, and Erik Karlsson, I think that's the only way you can go if you're going to retain and keep Crosby and Malkin. Maximize your strengths. Maximize everything you can do well. And if they can have a power play that clicks, this is the difference maker, that if you can bring that into the playoffs, I don't give a shit what the Florida Panthers do. I don't give a shit what the Vegas Golden Knights can do. If they can play up to the level they're expected to play, it should be lights out. There's a lot of ifs there. You know, you've heard me criticize the Toronto Maple Leafs because they do not maximize what they do well, especially in the playoffs, and that is something like the power play where they're not lighting teams up like they should. But for Pittsburgh's situation, their hand they've been dealt and the hand they've chosen to play, they need to make this move. This is all in, cup or nothing. So Kyle Dubas leaves the Leafs, goes to Pittsburgh, makes the move, and we'll see what happens, but I just don't see any other move that can be made. And I think Karlsson, if anything in the last 2 seasons we see in Pittsburgh, they should light it up. And their only chance to make a cup run by making a move like this. So thumbs up to the Pittsburgh Penguins for giving it a run. If you fail, you already got 3 cups with Crosby and Malkin in your back pocket. Say bye and kiss the rings because you've already done your job with that crew. So this is a bonus run, and you know what? Fans enjoy it. Looking at the other parts of the deal, the Sharks, I don't know if they got what they wanted. I don't know if the main goal was to, and I guess it's an okay goal, and that's get rid of a lot of the cap space that Karlsson's contract held up. They only retained, they did retain $1.5 million of that amount, and did pick up, they don't really want Mike Hoffman and Granlund. Like, they don't want those guys, and you got to imagine that the San Jose Sharks are going to look at either starting the season with those 2 players and then picking up 2nd-round picks or 3rd-round picks, or Mike Hoffman's a goal scorer, and a team might pick him up for the run, but let's not kid ourselves. That's more draft capital, late draft picks that they're expecting. They're not looking to keep those guys. So the Sharks, I guess it will play out to see what they do, but a first-round pick, top 10 protected. Keep in mind, the Pittsburgh Penguins with this trade are expecting to be a top 7-8 team or better. So let's think that draft pick's going to be late first round at best. So not sure they got what they wanted, but they do get the salary cap relief. The Montreal Canadiens pick up another goaltender. They got a lot of depth, man. They got Jake Allen. They got Montembeault. They got Primo. So I don't know what their plan is. Now with a 4th NHL caliber goaltender, there's got to be a few moves that they're going to make. They're keeping a lot of their moves. They want to get in the mix. They're a rebuilding team. But I think they do want to get a few veterans in there, and I think they're going to keep Jeff Petrie, but they can always decide, get rid of him at the trade deadline if, they need to do it once again to pick up some more capital. So interesting what the Montreal Canadiens are doing. They're the third party in here. Three's not company in this one. They were critical to make this deal happen. So big deal in the NHL. Should be a game changer if Erik Karlsson and the Penguins and their stars play at the level we would expect them to. But you know what? You get older, man. When you get older, when you get out of the chair, you feel a little creaky. You don't want to work out so much. Maybe that doesn't go for Sidney Crosby, but who knows about Malkin? Letang's had his health issues, and their chips are all in, and there's a risk. But what's really the risk for a three-time Stanley Cup champion in the Crosby-Malkin era? So that's my story on that NHL news. And you know what we're going to do is we're going to dive in to the NFL preseason. Now, my question is that for those out there, what is your strategy betting the NFL preseason? And I want to hear about your strategy on the Overrated Experience platform, social media. So on Twitter, you can follow us at Overrated EXPER2. And you can give us your thoughts, posts, picks, whatever you want. Facebook page, Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. And guess what? The Overrated Experience is on the gram now, Instagram. And once I figure out how it really works, that, I'll probably start posting as we get more and more content. And you can follow us on Instagram at Overrated Experience or /Overrated Experience, whatever way you find people on Instagram. Please follow the page, support, like us, and listen to the podcast. Spread the word. Make this little podcast a big monster. Okay? So a lot of stuff going on here. And also special shout out, and you'll see on the gram, we had locally the first 2023 Ring Toss Invitational for those who like to spend a little time in the backyard in the summers, having a few pints, throwing a few rings around. We had a 5-team tournament. I was expected to win. I choked like the Boston Bruins in a first-round playoff matchup against the Florida Panthers. And our champions in 2023 that came in as the 4th seed into the playoff rounds was Jessica Ann Herson, a.k.a. the lady from upstairs. And that's I go congratulate them, but better luck to me next year, not to them. All right, on to the business at hand, at why we're here today, and that is NFL preseason. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on some of these games going into the weekend. Something great to look forward to. Houston Texans, New England Patriots. And here's one of the challenges I know I found and I need to improve on for whatever it be, this preseason or next preseason. I'm trying to get a handle on who's playing. And the lineups are all over the place. And trying to figure out even who the starting quarterbacks or what quarterbacks will actually see playing time. Now, C.J. Stroud, in the first matchup here, second overall pick to the Houston Texans, looks like he's going to get some playing time. And from reports that I can see is that he's going to get playing time. And so will David Mills, and Case Keenum looks like he might get playing time. So it's hard to, the Houston Texans depth chart might get some work here. And you got to imagine C.J. Stroud, second overall pick, is going to, try to, throw some nice passes, and they're going to want to make sure he's protected and put their stars in. Houston doesn't have many stars, but they're a 3.5-point favorite over the New England Patriots, who will not have Mac Jones, it looks like, behind center. So I don't know what the Patriots are going to pull out there. But the Texans are minus 175, and New England is a plus 150 money line dog, but 3.5 points favored. So what do you take here? I'm still going to lean toward Houston. I'll take him at minus 3.5 over, just because it seems like the quarterback play might be of a higher caliber, and they may take this game a little more seriously with more players trying to win spots. So that's my take. Also, that night, the Minnesota Vikings take on the Seattle Seahawks. I don't have much of a take on there, so you're not going to get a pick from me on that one. Some interesting notes in some of the other games in the matchup. We have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games. I do find the interesting game will be the Packers, minus 4.5 favorite, head to Cincinnati to take on a Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati Bengal team. Minus 4.5 though, but Jordan Love looks like he's going to get some playing time. How much playing time, I don't know, but he's an interesting story. The Packers have a history of obviously drafting quarterbacks while their star quarterback is still, pretty much in their prime, but they somehow get the luck of the pick of the litter when they have to transition. So Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 4 seasons. Now gets his shot. We'll see what happens here. 4.5 on Jordan Love. I'm going to go with the Packers again. These are wild picks. There's no real. I'm really taking a flyer on this. I'm going to take them at 4.5. So I'll take the Packers there. Unlike the NFL season where I'll actually have reasoning why I'm taking a team, this one's a bit of a head scratcher because I don't know who the sixth, the depth chart of the sixth, and seventh linebackers and safeties and offensive line's critical and how long Jordan Love's going to play. But I'm going to go with the Packers at 4.5. Also on Saturday, early game, 1 p.m. game. Your favorite of mine, I'm not favorite, I don't hate him anymore. I used to hate the Bills. I hated the Jim Kelly Bills, to be honest, at the time. The Colts -5 in Buffalo. And I can't imagine, and I have not seen reports just to confirm 100% that Josh Allen will not be playing. But I will take the Buffalo Bills at +5 in this matchup. Indianapolis is on the road. Jonathan Taylor's not playing here. He's injured. I'm trying to figure what talent do they have that tells me that you put their, best back. I don't know. What do you call it? Their best backups. They're the guys fighting for jobs against the Bills, who are a better organized organization. Let's say that. I don't know if that's a term. That sounded awful, by the way. The Colts are, I don't know what they are. Kareem Hunt came in for a visit, looked like to potentially be a replacement for Jonathan Taylor or a complement, and he leaves town without a deal. They should have sewn that up. Kareem Hunt, I hope I said that. And so I'll take the Bills at +5. Moving on to the rest of the board. Interesting matchup. Always love, the Dallas Cowboys take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Cowboys are a show. They're a +4 underdog, here on FanDuel. Jaguars -4 favorites. And again, they're on the road. Why are they a favorite? I have no idea what stands out about the Cowboys and Jaguars in this matchup. Can't imagine Dak playing. They got Dallas Cowboys got a few rookies to watch, but give me the Cowboys +4. I'll take the Cowboys +4 for no apparent reason. And then moving on to the rest of the card, one over/under that stood out to me: Rams Chargers. Both teams don't have to leave home, obviously, play at the same stadium. The over/under is 33.5. Matthew Stafford, I can't imagine playing. I can't believe Justin Herbert playing. If maybe he will play, but I don't see it. But with both teams not having to worry about travel, you have a turf weather controlled. Why can't this go over 33.5? Why can't this just be a 21-17 game, 17-17 game? These teams also tinker around with 2-point conversions because they do not want to go in overtime and play longer than they need to have to. So let's go with this game over 33.5. So just to recap our NFL previews that I would not I'm going to recommend you listen to and grade me later. I'm going to take the Houston Texans over the New England Patriots -3.5 to open the Thursday night schedule. Moving on to Saturday, take on. By the way, just going to throw out the Houston one. Might be some rain in that game, so maybe keep a close eye on the weather report, and maybe an under bet might be a play there as well. Green Bay, Cincinnati, took -4.5, Green Bay. And moving on, took Indy Buffalo, like on Saturday. I'd like the Buffalo Bills to cover the 5 points, again, for no apparent reason. If quarterbacks are such a big deal here and Josh Allen's not playing, then what do we know what the Bills are going to provide? Also took Cowboys and Jaguars. I'm going to take the Cowboys +4. And then also in the evening, Saturday, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to take the over 33.5 points there. And that's the plays I will take this preseason week. Aren't you excited? Amazing. Interesting note. What I read was you have Pittsburgh and Tampa. I didn't make a play here. However, interesting that it looks like there's going to be a quarterback battle for the number one spot. Kyle Trask, former Florida quarterback, taking on Baker Mayfield. And it sounds like they may use the preseason and have maybe a few more snaps than you would have thought when Baker signed there. So there might be a lengthier time where a veteran quarterback like Baker Mayfield is in the game trying to get the offense going. So there might be an advantage there over other teams that may not want to keep their guys in long, like Pittsburgh that plays Tampa. Do they really want to keep Kenny Pickett in there? I know that he spent most of last year like learning the offense, but he had some time injured, right? And so like, do you want to risk that? Keeping him in too long? I don't know if they do. So that's also a game to look at. I'm not going to take it, but an interesting note about the quarterback battle between Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield. Well, there's my picks for the NFL, and I do want to hear you on Twitter and Instagram and what you think of what I just said. And you know what? I don't care. I do care, actually. So please reply. Please join us on those platforms. And man, if you were looking just for football on weekends, the World Cup hasn't convinced you to love soccer or European football, then I feel sorry for you, and I think you need to change your ways and change them now. When we look at, before we get into the picks this weekend, because the games actually kick off Friday at 3 p.m., some of the future bets looking at the board is who's going to win the English Premier League outright. So, for those fans that are not familiar and maybe only watch MLS potentially, there is no playoff system in English Premier or the major sports, football / soccer leagues. That's what the Champions League's for. And that's what the FA Cup is for. That's what the Europa's for. That's what the League Cup is for. There's all these other tournaments that are done within the season that are not part of the English Premier season itself. So it's a marathon of 20 teams. I play 38 games, one home, one away against each of their opponents, and the total points, 3 for a win, 1 for a draw, obviously 0 for nothing. And they have a marathon season. So, obviously, Man City, the defending champion, the defending EPL champion, the defending FA champion, the defending Champions League champions of the world, Man City, are a minus 140 to take home another back-to-back English Premier title, which is no shock. And look at the second favorite team, Arsenal, who loaded up. Right, Declan Rice joins. A few other guys have joined Arsenal, and Arsenal's moves are meant to keep up with Man City. Now, Arsenal was in control, and they choked in 2022. They choked. Simple as that. They had it. They choked. They lost against teams they shouldn't have, or gave up points they shouldn't have. While Man City mowed along and crushed the teams when they needed to, and head-to-head against Arsenal, crushed them. Absolutely crushed, smacked around, basically made them their bitch. Let's not kid ourselves. So Arsenal's trying to load up and go at them. And we'll see what happens. Man City is not a fluke. This is a powerhouse. Pep's got this team. He brings in players. He takes out players. He finds... it's not just the star players. He doesn't find the established players. I know he's got Haaland, which is the most prized possession player maybe in the history of football, coming out of Borussia Dortmund last year, and they got him for a heavy price, and he produced. But don't kid yourselves. Man City knows where to find talent all across the world, and they have a system, and it produces. Now, Arsenal, to me, at plus 500, I don't see them as the threat. If there's going to be a threat, in my opinion, this is coming from a Man United fan. And by the way, Man United is plus 900. I'm going to say Liverpool To me, Liverpool, it's plus 650. To me, is your best bet to make a run at Man City. They had a terrible season last year. They made some signings like Gakpo, the Dutch youngster who's joined the team. They lost a few bodies, but they brought a few bodies in. I just see them, recovering and not dropping games like they did last year. I see them running over a lot of these weaker teams, the Lutons and the Burnleys and the Bournemouths, the West Hams and things like that. I see them running over those teams. And they may not fare well head-to-head against Man City, but that's only 2 games. But I just don't see them lapsing. I see their focus is going to be razor sharp. I think Jurgen Klopp is going to have them back where they need to be. I think they'll continue to put constant 3 points. And if there's going to be a team that makes a run, it's going to be Liverpool. With a second, I'm hoping it's Man United, to be honest. They've made some strides and they got back into Champions League football. But another team to watch out for is Newcastle. This team, it's got money. They're not going crazy on signings. And what I mean crazy is they're not, Saudi League signings or, Man City or Arsenal. They're making smart signings. They're building a base. They're a dangerous team. They're playing Champions League football this year. So that might be a little too much on their plate to keep up in the domestic league. But so if there's a challenge to Man City, plus 650 Liverpool might be a play. And also Newcastle, plus 1800. Just exciting stuff here in the EPL. I just said that like I work there. I don't work there, to be honest with you. And I love these bets, right? Teams to avoid relegation. And what happens is the bottom 3 English Premier teams will move down a division if they finish with the lowest points. So it's exciting because you look at the top to win the whole thing. The top 4 positions will also qualify for top 5 positions will qualify for Champions League, which is where these teams want to be, and this is where the players, free agents, want to go and they want to transfer to. And you also do not want to be at the bottom because you lose out economically because you're going to be dropped. So, do I really have a pick here? No. Everton, for example, minus 450 was a team that almost dropped out. Bournemouth, the same thing last year, but they're pretty high up. But I think the jury's out. Luton, and if you don't know who this Luton team is, Luton came up and will be in the Premier League, and their stadium is built around a bunch of houses. So it looks very unique. You have, Old Trafford and all, stadiums in Man City and Arsenal and all these, all these big, giant, mammoth, modern, stadiums that, like 70,000 people, and this little stadium is going to be hosting the Chelseas and the Arsenals and the Man Cities at a little stadium with a bunch of houses surrounding. It's very unique and very. Hope they don't ruin it in English football. But Luton is a plus 175 to be avoid relegation. Sorry, I said relegate, but this is to avoid relegation. And Sheffield United back after a season away, plus 100. So the odds are, or at least the betting odds are, those 2 teams are going to have a one and done situation. So that's some good stuff there. Love it. EPL, 7:30 games. Get your coffee going in the morning. Get your bet on. We'll try to bring in Johnny Charts as well, maybe for a secondary show, as he loves to look at every single league across Europe. And trust me, I get the texts out of nowhere, Bundesliga, second division, whatever that, Belgium, Dutch picks, first half overs, it's just wild. So there's an audience out there for that, and Johnny Charts is that audience, and we'll bring him in hopefully sometime soon as the seasons kick off and all the leagues are in full bore here. I just used full bore because that's the way I want to do it. And so going into this weekend, why not kick off? I love some of the same game parlays, and there's some value here. So I'm going to give you a couple same game parlays I do like, and I'm using FanDuel, by the way. I do like Man City and Burnley. Burnley just promoted. playing at home, you think that this team is going to be on fire. This crowd's going to be nuts. They're loving the return to the Premier League, but they're playing the man. They're playing Man City. That worked out, the man. But so I like the over 2.5, and believe me, I like 3 or 4 goals, maybe one by Burnley, but I like a lot of success on the champs side, not necessarily the rookie side here in Burnley. So I like that to be over, and I kind of like shots on target. And if I had to choose the shots on target, I'm going to say shots in general to be about, let's say 23. No, let's go shots on target. You know what, Man City's gonna impress me here. So no, man. See, I'm going back and forth now, talking to you guys, and I was sure coming to this podcast. So I'm gonna say over 23 shots, and if you put $100 down on that, so this is Same Game Parlay, over 2.5, 23 or more shots, it's gonna win you 98.33. That's a value play in my mind. Also, looking back, we're going to take a team that I loved as the year went on. Come on. Where's that bet? Team I loved early on, or like later in the EPL season. It's Brighton, of course. Brighton had some ridiculous numbers in a lot of their games, especially shots on target, shots in total. They're taking on Luton, like I said, who's being called up. They're not being called up. They've earned promotion to the Premier League. So Same Game Parlay for them. Only 2 selections. I do like, in this game, Brighton to win outright. And that is, what are the odds? I just had it. The odds are minus 330. Brighton to win outright. And that, keep in mind, that also includes I could lose if Luton obviously wins, but also if the game is a draw. But I do like Brighton to win. I like them to win comfortably. And I also like, and it might sound crazy, 7 shots on target. It's not unfamiliar for Brighton to explode and dominate possession and really be aggressive. It's worked for them. They made a run last year with good results. So $100 pays you $105. So I like that. I like it a lot. And the other play I like, Newcastle takes on and hosts Aston Villa. I talked about earlier that Newcastle is on the rise. They've already qualified for Champions League, coming to this season with high expectations. So I do like a good action-packed game here. Same Game Parlay, over 1.5 goals, over 9.5 corners. This team gets involved in a corner fest. I'm telling you, man. They're setting up shop. They're taking a lot of corners, and if this game is at 3 or 4 corners, if it doesn't go high in the first half, bet on the second half there's going to be like 5 or 6 corners. Newcastle, the odd time has failed to do so, but mostly they get into like when I say a shootout, I don't know, you call it a corner out. What do you do? 9.5 corners, 23 shot attempts. $100 pays you $117.22. This game and the previous game, Brighton, are on Saturday. So that's something to watch out for. I love it. And if we look back at one more game that I'm going to go with, because it's a marquee matchup, Chelsea and Liverpool. I don't know if you've seen Chelsea so far. I don't even know if they got a main sponsor yet. It's weird, man. They got their Chelsea symbol on the left over their heart, as you normally see it, but they're missing a sponsor on the jersey. And I don't know if it's been resolved or not, but it looks really weird in today's football. Like, what are you doing? Like, it just looks strange. So Liverpool and Chelsea, two big teams here. I do like the over 2.5 goals, which are most. It would not be shocking to hear me say that. With shots on target being probably let's do it. Let's say shots over target 9, and so that game will get us Same Game Parlay shots. Chelsea 100 will pay you $99.85. And that is my take on the English Premier League opening weekend. Love it or hate it. Doesn't matter. I love it. You could hate it all you want, but I do love it. And just one parting piece of news that I know I wanted to talk about and related to European soccer, or aka football, is it's going to be interesting to note what, maybe not this year, maybe in the coming years, or probably the short term to be very honest, what is the impact going to be to the Saudi League buying up a lot of European talent, some bigger names, some not so bigger names. I mean, we're talking obviously about Cristiano Ronaldo, was the first big player to go, and then money has been thrown around to pick up players like Ruben Neves from Wolverhampton, obviously Karim Benzema from Real Madrid, one of the biggest players in the world, Conte from Chelsea, Mendy from Chelsea, goalkeeper, even Steven Gerrard to coach, not play, but to be a head coach, and some other players that were surprising. For Liverpool was hit pretty well. Firmino leaves, Jordan Henderson leaving, Alex Telles from Manchester United, Sané that left Bayern Munich to join Cristiano Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia on his team. Now, what's weird about that one is that I got to believe Bayern Munich, who wants Harry Kane, and it looks like to be close if Tottenham accepts their fourth and final offer, that probably said, you know what, I thought he was going to bring more. He didn't. He didn't look anything like he did in Liverpool. So, yeah, we'll take the money and run. So we'll sell off his rights over to you, and we'll see you later. But going back to the whole topic, this has all the earmarks of, the LIV Tour and the impact to the world of professional golf. When you looked at the PGA Tour battling the LIV Tour, there was, players leaving for guaranteed money, big guaranteed money to leave the tour. And, the LIV Tour, when you looked at the details of a lot of the contracts that they provided some of these golfers, a lot of it wasn't just here's their money, I'm going to hand it over. It was a lot of access to their connections and introducing to people, and trying to bring them in touch with the main players of the world of golf, and the sponsors and the business partners and the agents and all those things that these golfers would have access to. So we know what happened with the LIV Tour and the PGA. It's now basically one entity. These players in the LIV Tour never missed a beat because they had the guaranteed money and still got to play the majors, which is the bigger win there for them. And so the impacts you're going to have to be similar. And what I mean by that is that there's got to be a bigger picture in mind. The Saudi League and the folks at the Saudi fund that run these initiatives, they gotta have another shoe to drop here. It's not just signing Cristiano Ronaldo. It's not just signing those players I mentioned. There's got to be a reason why they want the influence of those players. There has to be something of a TV entity, a streaming entity that maybe they're trying to secure or leverage into something where it impacts European football in the big leagues there. They got the money, but they don't have the brand recognition. So that's what they want. Just like the PGA Tour is the brand recognition. And I don't know if, I'm just going to put the conspiracy hat on here. Is this another angle for, not just the Saudis, but other investors to eventually get the Super League that was thought of and lived a short life and died, the major clubs wanting to break off and have a more like American style league where there is no relegation. You're only playing, the top teams, and you're guaranteed income. It's all economic driven. So there has to be a connection here where there is going to be another shoe to drop that's not going to totally keep, the European football world separate. So let's keep an eye on that. More players will go. Why would a player go? Well, you get a phone call or a briefcase open up. This is $300 million or $400 million, and you tell me you went, potentially, accept that offer. I can see why Mbappe may not, or Messi may not, because Messi's got other business things in mind, and that's probably the only reason why he took the deal in the MLS. Mbappe is in the prime of his career, and he wants to play in Champions League football. He wants to be at Real Madrid. We all know that, and that's maybe allowing him to take less money because of those bigger brand recognized teams like Real Madrid. And is the Saudi, influence or the goal at the end of the day, is it the US? Is it European audience? Or maybe what if they're trying to be the brand that is, the Chinese, the folks in China want to watch. A lot of the sports marketing is geared towards the China market. So how do we know that maybe they're just trying to take the angle that we are going to be, we're going to try to be the best league in, for the viewers from the Chinese audience? Who knows? Because there's a lot of economic gain from there and influence. I don't know what it is, but I guarantee you that there's 3 or 4 steps that we're not seeing yet, and it's interesting to see what happens. But I mean, as a player, there's players been coming out talking about how busy the schedule is, and they're right. I'm talking about the opening to the EPL season. I swear it was a few weeks ago that we had the Champions League final between Inter Milan and Manchester City. Does it not feel like that? These guys are running to the ground. The star players do not get time off. You throw in all these club competitions and throw in international. You got the Nations League now, not just the World Cup. You have World Cup. You have Euro qualifying. It's insane, right? So you tell me that these guys are not going to take a big guaranteed payday and then play less on their body? It's going to be appealing to more and more as time goes on, but it's not going to be it. There's going to be a shift somewhere, either to capture a new market, either to change the current market. But don't you think there's a bigger picture in mind, just like the Live and PGA Tour? It'd be interesting to watch. It's all money. It's all economics, and if people didn't think the current European system was, or the current sports system in North America was, you're wrong. So it's just another player in the market who's using the dollars and cents to potentially change the landscape of the sport itself. So we'll see what happens. So that's my soapbox. That's my take on what we know now about the relationship between the players leaving for the Saudi League to the current European football stage. And that was the Overrated Experience, episode 46. Thank you for joining. The pleasure was all yours, of course. And we are over and out.